got a packed Premier League schedule this weekend, and we're going to look back to last night's matches as well. We are up to our armpits in football, quite
as
frankly,
always.
Jim, and that's the way we like it. Let's start.
It's like a ball pond around here, isn't it?
It's exactly that. Lyon 2,
Full of germs.
Manchester United. Is it really? And the gastro capital of France. Some might even say Europe and beyond, Andy.
I meant the ball pit.
Oh, okay. Lyon 2, Manchester United 2. Manchester United remain unbeaten in Europe. Come on.
What a proud record.
Despite the efforts...
Lovely hypothetical stadium as well. There's a lot going for them at the moment.
That's right. Despite the efforts of Andrea Onana, they are unbeaten in Europe. Oh.
What a day he had.
No.
Like Matić didn't even need to come on.
No.
Yeah.
Like his biggest contribution was the press conference.
I
That's a man who's played under José Mourinho, isn't it?
Oh, big time. He said it in exactly Mourinho tone and syntax, didn't he?
Yeah.
So he said, didn't he, that he said, because Andrea Onana suggested that Manchester United were going to beat Lyon, or that Lyon weren't kind of up to scratch.
He said we're way better than them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Matić said, I'll take that from... I mean, to paraphrase, he basically said, I'll take that from...
De Gea, Schmeichel...
The fine
Van der Sar.
goalkeeper, but not from the worst goalkeeper in their modern history or something.
But it was that he went then back afterwards and said, statistically...
Statistically,
Yeah, and then Onana had a bit back, didn't he? Saying I'd never say bad things about another club, even though that's how all of this started. Unlike some, I've won trophies at the best club in the world and had a picture of himself with the FA Cup, so it's all beautifully unedifying.
It is indeed, yeah. Did Matić not win any trophies at Manchester United then?
Well, he won them at other clubs, didn't he?
He did win them at other clubs, Andy.
Which is a bit of an oversight. I mean, it's the most classic modern bad faith football argument from Onana there, isn't it?
Very much
Well,
so.
the fact of the matter is, despite those faults that he made on the night, it still ended 2-2. I mean, there were plenty of chances for both sides, and both sides were quite wasteful. But Andy, you said on our WhatsApp group that it was such a poor quality match.
Awful. And I just feel that, I mean, I was at Spurs last night, and Spurs we'll come to that in a minute. I thought they were excellent for like 25 minutes in the second half.
A bit more like it, wasn't it?
But I didn't leave with the feeling that any team really is, and I had the Lyon United game on the screen, obviously. I didn't really have the feeling that any of these teams have really convinced me that.
Sorry, obviously. You're physically at a football match, and obviously you're watching a different one on the screen.
Jim, he's been paid to be there.
Jim, I'm beyond saving. There's no point going into it too deeply.
He's a Lyon fan.
Just go with it. I have to say, I wasn't watching the Lyon United game thinking there's a winner in this. I mean, realistically, obviously, they're in the quarterfinals. They're still level. One of them could win the competition.
Can
quite
both
feasibly.
go out? Would that be fair?
I mean, I wouldn't think it would be unfair, certainly. But I think the whole Europa League you're seeing this season, you could argue, and people have argued for years, that it's much fairer that teams don't drop out the Champions League and go into the Europa League. The back end of the Europa League is of such a worse quality because of that. I mean, honestly, I think you look at all the games, and I think Bodo Glimt obviously beating Lazio, and Lazio... We're in a bit of a weird spot. They rested a few players because they've got the derby against Roma at the weekend, which I think is quite ill-advised because this is a competition that A, is worth winning, and B, you can get in the Champions League from it. But if I was the Bodo Glimt coach, if I was Kjetil Knutsen, I would be looking at the field going, the rest of these aren't any good.
Yeah.
We're the Norwegian champions and we can legitimately win this.
It would be an enormous piece.
It'd be incredible, wouldn't it?
It would be, yeah.
I mean, this game, I think when you look at Lyon Man United on paper, you think it's a huge game between two huge clubs who won loads of stuff in the 21st century, who've both got massive stadiums. The atmosphere was worthy of a huge European game. And it was so slow and laborious. Where's the pep? Where's the excitement? I realise Lyon have got a couple of important and very zippy wide players out, but it just felt that the only way that United were going to create chances is if Lyon got to the point where eventually they overcommitted, which they did a couple of times. And United, it's funny because United could have won this. I don't think they should have won this, but in addition to the fact they scored in the 88th minute and didn't close it out, I think the fact that they had, as the second half went on, a couple of very presentable counter-attacks. And the thing that really got me, there was that one break where Garnacho, who I thought was really quite poor, he had that break and he could play in Bruno Fernandes, the guy who, if you give him a chance, he's going to score for you. Exactly. He overhit the pass for him, and when Fernandes couldn't control it, he coated him off for it. Yeah. And it's just like, for God's sake, just take some responsibility.
Imagine being in that team and having to go at Bruno Fernandes for not being
outrageous.
Good enough. You looking forward to the second leg, Jim?
Yeah, I am.
Or not anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I sort of am, because I feel like I still feel like Man United will get through this, to be honest. Given they've got the draw there. But I do think that Almada goal, the first one, it's such a mistake from Onana that it's practically an own goal. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's
you see them
poor.
You see them now and then. It's poor, I understand.
But
do you think the first mistake is worse than the second?
Oh yeah, considerably worse.
The second goal, where it's hit at pace. I understand he should be holding on to it, really. So it goes down as an error. I mean, the forward Cherky was very quick, and it's a packed box.
It's a good finish.
It's
a really smart finish to diffuse what's happening and put that finish on it. Yeah. The only finish that will score. Yes. Brilliant. I think is really good.
Really hard to do that, isn't it, with your boot? But yeah, the first one, it's like he's just forgotten where he is momentarily.
I mean, Onana's a funny one, isn't he? Because I remember when Manchester United signed him, and I thought, that's a good signing. With that position,
had recently been in the Champions League final.
Because for Inter, he was a good goalkeeper.
He had an outstanding season.
Indeed, he did, and it got to the point where, for the Cameroonian national side, he's got that sort of Ajax football purist in him, having played there, and he was, well, if you're not going to play the way that I want to play, which is playing out with the feet and so on.
He grew up as a footballer in Spain. Yeah,
exactly. And so I'm off, lads. There was that, and you thought, bloody hell, this is big licks from a guy who, as you say, Jim, went all the way in the Champions League with Inter, a huge price tag. And so on and so forth. But at Manchester United, I mean, again, though, yet another player, perhaps the most obvious one of this regime, where you think, he was good once.
Yeah. There is no player that they cannot break.
It's like really. I mean, Fernandes is the only one, but then you would argue he was signed at a time when they were still all right.
Yeah. It's like a footballing Bermuda Triangle, isn't it?
It is.
It's fascinating.
But how much do you put this on Onana, Andy? Because I mean, you saw him more than most when he was Inter and so.
Well, I think that of all the signings that United have not developed into what they should have, I think Onana's the one maybe they shouldn't have bought. I can understand why they did it. Of course, Erik ten Hag wanted a goalkeeper who was good with his feet, and he is exceptional with his feet, although he's turned into a bit of a Claudio Bravo in that sense, really, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he has.
I suppose.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's interesting because, like, part of the reason that there's this chip between Lyon and Onana, he was really, really close to signing there when he was at Ajax. Now, he agreed to go there because Peter Bosz really wanted him. Again, Ajax, goalkeepers with the feet, etc., etc.
Call him by his proper name.
And
Peter Bosz. It's Friday, Jim. Don't look at me like that.
I'm just really pleased you didn't ask me to call him by his proper name. Eredivisie winner Peter Bosz.
I'm thinking you can actually trim it down a bit more. It's Peter Bosz.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So he went from the brink of going to Lyon for about 4 million to 15 months later going to Man United for 50. So they've bought him off the evidence of one really good season.
I mean, that does happen in football, though.
Yeah,
it does, but it doesn't mean they should have done it.
Yeah, I'm just saying with price tag in the Premier League side.
There's always a tax, and there's always a Manchester United tax, etc., etc., etc.
Well, anyway,
but I think that there are other players there where you think you can understand the reasoning for buying them and developing them. But Onana's had a really weird career up until that year at Inter. And it was a much bigger risk than a lot of their other signings.
Well, it was. And I wonder if he takes a leaf out of Barry Ferguson's book and switches goalkeepers for the next game. Get Tom Heaton in there.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go back to, though, Ruben Amorim and Manchester United more generally. Did you see that he was spotted watching training from 150 yards away?
That screams, what am I not seeing here?
He wasn't on a cherry picker.
Can I not see the wood for the trees?
Yeah, he wasn't at elevation. He was watching training at Manchester United's training ground, 150 yards away behind I mean, when people say it's behind a fence, I mean, it was netting more, really, so that wasn't... But still, though,
it's not a bird's eye view,
it's not
it?
It's not ideal. It's clearly a worse view. Part of me was like, is he some sort of... Is he a bit... Are we getting towards... thinking that Amorim, he did really well in Portugal. Is he a bit of an Andre Villas-Boas when he comes to England? Huge hype, and look, he does
AVB with more sensible trousers. I mean, that sounds good.
AVB, right? It was a good coach. I don't want to, he did okay, but he didn't do in England perhaps what he would have wanted to do. I think.
But don't you think?
Or is Amorim
there's a whole different context to where Amorim is picking up Manchester United.
No, completely.
And that's before we get to the fact that Manchester United just suck people in and make them worse.
No, indeed. But let me clarify my comments though, Andy.
Is this foot-building vortex? I wonder if he's standing 150 yards away, where he's thinking, maybe I'll be able to coach like I did at Sporting if I pretend I'm not the manager of Manchester United anymore by standing a really long way away from the players.
To clarify those comments about AVB, like I say, I think Aaron's a really good coach, and I think whatever he goes on to do after Manchester United,
rally driving,
whatever it is, he will be
president
good at
of Sporting.
But I'm just wondering, because you could see that as quite eccentric behaviour. But on the other hand, as you say, I think he's probably thinking, it's not as bad as if I stand this far away.
There was a show on TV on Channel 4 a good few years ago now called The Secret Life of Children, where they got loads of kids into a room full of cameras, and obviously the parents could see what they were like when they weren't around. Is perhaps there's some element of that at play? It's like, what are these idiots doing? When I'm not around, what do they think they can get away with when I'm not looking?
Indeed, but the fact is, though,
do they even train?
They were so close to winning the tie.
Yeah,
so we're all said and done. That they're very much still alive. It was. I mean, I was pleased for Xerxes to score late on.
Good header as well.
It was as well, but especially with the defending.
And again, a brilliant ball from Bruno Fernandes. Who has to do everything around here.
Yeah, and I understand people might say, but the defender took a slight little nick and so on. But I actually think Xerxes takes credit. I would veer towards that, because you've got to anticipate it. You've got to keep your head in there, and you've got to guide it however it goes. So
it's really easy to have that chance over the top as well.
Yeah, I give him credit. It was good. I mean,
I think the thing is, he's been judged by really quite unreasonable standards. Look, he's not been great so far, and he's not the first, and he won't be the last at United. But anyone who thought when he was coming in that he was going to be a 25-a-season striker, you just obviously not watched him before. And so for them to put him in the position where he's expected to do that is mad. Now, look, the Højlund thing is something totally different. I mean, Xerxes, I think, could still be useful to United. Højlund looks totally broken. Totally broken.
And I just don't think that the fault is fully at their door. I mean, I understand it's them who's on the pitch. I understand it's Højlund who kicks the ball. Do you know what I mean? I don't be stupid here.
But like all of them can't be wrong.
But exactly, Andy. It's just ridiculous at this stage. Although good to see Lenny Yoro playing. I know he's not there for goal.
He's been a bright spot.
He has.
I watched him close up at the Emirates, and he came on, and the difference he made to the defence was immediate and obvious. And he's so tall, it's very difficult to get round, to the point where I don't think I'm not sure if he was dribble past in the game last night, but he'd not been dribble past in ages recently. He's definitely one that, if the grand plan is going to come to fruition, he'll be a major part of it.
Okay. Yeah, that's high praise indeed.
I don't think the grand plan is going to come to fruition, just for the record.
A plan, Jim? A plan would be a step in the right direction. Well, look, Manchester United's still alive, very much still alive in the Europa League, as are Tottenham Hotspur, who drew 1-1 with Eintracht Frankfurt. Spurs played pretty well, Andy. You were there. Did you watch any of the game, though?
A little bit.
Okay. Did you glance up now and then?
Now and then. A very slow start from Spurs.
Lovely goal.
From Ekitike.
Yeah. 100% Ekitike will end up in the Premier League.
He's been linked with Chelsea. Yeah. Straight off the back of that goal.
It's funny. I was speaking to someone in the press room at Spurs and before the game, saying I'm pretty sure that Ekitike will end up in the Premier League. And right behind the back of their head, there was a massive screen with Sky Sports News going, Chelsea are interested in. And it's like, of course they are. Of course they are.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, like, probably the biggest false move he's made in his career so far was when he could have gone to Newcastle and he chose PSG instead. And he was a teenager. He was never going to get games past Neymar, Messi and Mbappe at the time. But he's recovered really well from that.
But he learned from them, though.
Yeah, for sure. But the way he leads the line is fantastic, as it always has been. But Spurs didn't panic, which I think, given like the vibes that are coming off Ange Postecoglou at the moment, that's probably easier said than done. I think they went on and played, like I said, really well for 25 minutes in the second half. Caoa Santos had a really great game in the Eintracht Frankfurt goal. And people had said before, well, no Kevin Trapp, he's only 21, maybe Caoa is someone we can get at, but he was brilliant.
Oh, he was magnificent. I mean, it was the difference between Spurs drawing the game and not winning the game. Pedro Porro. Campbell.
Lovely finish.
Perhaps it was, but I thought more should have been made of that, because that was a beauty.
Yeah.
I mean, in the stadium, because when the goal went in, obviously everyone celebrates. And then, as it's shown on the big screen, people start to see what actually happened with the finish, and you hear this, whoa!
Yeah. Can you believe he's actually done that?
Yeah.
Lovely little flick, wasn't it? Beautiful stuff.
But it was a flick, of course, but it felt like it was he'd side-footed it into the corner. As in with an open body.
It was such a good connection.
It was.
Yeah, you're right.
Magnificent.
Yeah.
I turned it over at that point. I've got to be honest. Yeah, they'd gone 1-0 down, so I thought I'll watch that. This is boring. Man United Lyon. Porro scores. I'm not having this. I'll go back to being bored.
Okay, fine. Well, Postecoglou said after the game that he was resigned to the fact that the football gods have got their eyes elsewhere this year. Oh, that's
too much pressure, that, isn't it?
That's loser talk. It is, isn't it? This year, come on, man. You're still in the tie. I mean, after that performance, I understand Eintracht Frankfurt, the side who know how to win this competition, and it may well be in for a European night an intimidating place to go. But I think Spurs have got to go there with their tails
Absolutely. Up. That is a mad thing to say when it's 1-1 in the tie, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they've played really well as well.
And we don't have away goals anymore.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah.
I would fancy Spurs. Come on, Spurs. I fancy them to go through. I really do, because they've had such a shitey season for whatever, a myriad of reasons. And I think, based on that, I think it's just more of the same. Don't be intimidated by the atmosphere. Easier said than done. Don't do that. Look at the players you're playing against. You played them last week and you played them off the pitch by and large. Unlucky not to go in to the second leg without a lead. And I don't think they were necessarily kind of sloppy with their finishing or anything. I just think it was unlucky.
Yeah, I mean, look, they will just, as you need to do in European ties, create a flurry and this time score the goals to take advantage of that flurry. Yeah. And they're not incapable of doing that at all. I think the thing is, if there was a reason to say why Spurs will win this competition, I think I feel more confident about them after last night's game, even though they didn't win it, than a lot of other teams in the competition, because I think we've been able to see that firstly, he can actually pick a team now. He can actually choose a team rather than the team choosing itself, because he hasn't got any options, which they had for a couple of months. And with the players that are fit now, they have, if not the best team in the competition, pretty close. We know 20-25 good minutes from Spurs is good enough to win most games in this competition.
That can be 3 goals if they're really on song, can't it? And that's it. So catching up with how the game actually played out, I just don't think Frankfurt were that good. And obviously the home leg makes a difference to that. But I think Spurs are massively in the driving seat here. I wonder if Postecoglou's trying to take some pressure off, maybe, with that comment.
Yeah, but
does it feel like he's doing that?
It doesn't, does it? But there must be some logic.
I just think he's pissed off and he's just like, whatever.
I agree. I'm a little bit worried about him. It's sad.
I know what you mean.
I think because he was so positive when he came in at Spurs. Now, part of that is a reaction to what happened in the atmosphere created under Conte and Mourinho. And I think whatever happens next with Ange Postecoglou, in time, and maybe even immediately, a lot of Spurs fans will think, well, he did really positive stuff for our club and it's a really good thing. But it just seems like he's having a really shit time at the moment. Yeah. And he seems so negative.
I think
it's not even a siege mentality, is it?
I think
it's something else.
It's almost like he's resigned to the fact that he will leave in the summer, and he's probably thinking, if if it wasn't such a circus with regard to managers coming in and out at Spurs and all that sort of stuff,
But
he probably would have lost his job already.
There's a way to go out, right?
There is,
if you think Claudio Ranieri in his final season at Chelsea, where everyone knows that Abramovich is going to fire him,
and he even said it himself,
and he just got on with it with a smile on his face, and produced a really, really good season that gave Chelsea the platform to go on from there. So I just think it's sad that he feels like that.
I think that's just who he is, though, isn't it? He's very no nonsense, so he's at the worst club possible. And I just don't think he can. I don't think he can really put on a face that isn't is kind of genuine.
Do you know what would be good though if they can produce performances and they win the Europa League and that whole second season business? I'd love it if he proved everybody wrong and he just turned around and went, because the press conference after it would just be explained. Oh my goodness, the amount of swear words you hear. And also if Levy and everyone went, oh, can you stay? He was just like, no. And then he walked off. That would be so good. I love that.
Takes the trophy back to Sydney with him.
I'm taking this trophy, and it's not a replica, and I'm taking it with me. So up all of yours. That would be great. But we've got to mention Rangers in the Europa League. A remarkable draw at Ibrox. Yeah. They were down to 10 men after 13 minutes, and despite Ali McCoy being on co-coms, I think it was a red card.
I see where he's coming from.
Do you think it's a bit harsh?
A little.
And if that's 78 minutes, you're thinking red card.
Yeah,
I get it. Like the neutral in you is going, don't ruin the game. I know where you're coming from.
I just think it's difficult to say incontrovertibly that there's definitely no cover. I think the pace of it's because he stops, doesn't stop. He gets fouled. The defender, then it looks like the defender will come back. I get it. I think the penalty decision was way more contentious. I mean, if you haven't seen that, it was an extraordinary passage of play where Athletic Bilbao score, and they then do a VAR review to see if the goal was actually offside or not, and it clearly was offside because the goalkeeper's out, and they only had one defender in between him and the byline. And then they say, okay, so no goal. But was there a handball by the Rangers defender in the sort of build up to the goal? And it's like, I'm not sure I'd have given that if that was me. I think that's fair.
I think that was really, really harsh. So the fans at Ibrox must have been quite confused for a moment because the goal scored and they celebrate. It's like, right, no goal, but we will give a penalty. But then I suppose if it's VAR, everyone just goes,
Lap of the gods, etc.
The VAR tombola just chucked up a penalty decision, But then the man in for Jack Butland, who has been obviously pretty good for Rangers, although they've lost a handful of home games on the trot at Ibrox. Comes in and Kelly, and he gets a foot to it and he saves it. So it's a big 0-0 for Rangers. And you mentioned away goals there. Rangers are gutted that there's not away goals in the cup this season.
It's nil asterisk nil, that, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah. It is. So Rangers, they're still alive. You would fancy Athletic Bilbao to win it in the second leg, but I tell you what, that would be quite something. But I think Ibrox itself dragged them through that game because down to 10 men against probably the best side left in the competition.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
You can only hope for a 0-0 realistically.
But also, I think we can say with Rangers and how brilliant they've been in the Europa League in recent years, Ibrox, is something special. It gives them something special. True, but they've got some great results on the road as well.
Yeah.
They have.
So
Spanish teams don't have to be good until the final, do they?
Yeah, but they get to the final too.
But that's what I mean, yeah.
Hand in hand. Yeah, I don't even... Okay, fair enough. All right, gentlemen, just before we go for a break, did you see that, if you like, one other bit of history was made in Europe this week? Barcelona beat Borussia Dortmund 4-0. Rafinha scored, and he scored in David Nugent fashion.
Yeah.
In the same goal that David Nugent scored his only England goal for back in 2007.
Take us through what David Nugent did to Jermaine Defoe on that fateful night, in case people have forgotten.
So obviously it's England against Andorra, and England win the game 3-0. Was it 0-0 at half-time? There were certainly unhappy England fans at half-time. Anyway, Jermaine Defoe has a shot, and the goalkeeper gets a strong arm to it, if I remember correctly, or certainly a body part. And the ball is going, he's squirming, just about to squirm over the line, and Nugent runs in and just whacks it in to make sure, which I think in the name of the team scoring is fine, but then it is the last kick of the game or injury time against Andorra.
Yeah.
But Nugent does that, as we all remember. But Rafinha did
The same thing
Pretty much the same.
to 18-year-old Pau Capasi. This is way worse.
But I think what was
But
way...
you got to make sure, have you not?
You do.
What was way worse is the fact that there was a VAR check and it looked like Rafinha was really, really close to being offside. So it was almost a reproduction.
Wimbledon away to Newcastle. Do you remember that?
I do, but I was actually gonna say Cristiano Ronaldo in that friendly against Spain, where he scored what would have been one of the best goals in international football ever. He puts prime Piqué and prime Puyol on their asses, chips Valdez, and Nani heads it in from under the bar from an offside position. And Ronaldo loses his shit.
I was Team Ronaldo there.
That's hilarious.
Nani robbed Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Well,
He's still not
actually,
over that,
you know
is he?
what? I actually am Team Nani because he robbed Ronaldo of beauty.
Because he'll still be thinking about that one goal that's not on his tally.
Oh, my goodness.
Barcelona are quietly Harlem Globetrotting. Lamine Yamal's goal was exquisite piece of footwork. And
He got fouled during it and he didn't break stride.
yeah, which was absolutely amazing.
The Harlem Globetrot was also dreadful with money.
I don't know for
Well,
sure.
they're still touring
but-
at their age, Marcus.
Yeah, they must be if that's the case. But yeah, Rafinha, a headed assist for a headed goal from Lewandowski right under the crossbar as well was deliciously aesthetic.
It's enjoyable.
Or aesthetically delicious, however you want to word it.
I'll word it whichever way I bloody want. Coming up after this, Julia Roberts snubs Pep Guardiola once again.
We're going on tour. That's right, Football Ramble time tunnel is hitting Newcastle, Birmingham, Manchester, London and Glasgow between the 9th and the 17th of May. Get your tickets by clicking the link in the top corner of this video now.
De Bruyne has the short option. He does have a splendid set of cards. I've got to admit, though, Jack Grealish down below in front of us.
Welcome back to Football Ramble, everybody. There was another British side involved in European football last night. Chelsea beat Legia Warsaw 3-0 in Poland. Nice to see Noni Madueke among the goals again. And Tyrick George, who was an academy graduate. High praise he got from Enzo Maresca.
And he has looked excellent throughout the UEFA Conference League campaign.
He has.
They've been excited by him.
He looked delighted to score. That's when you sort of think to yourself, yeah, fair play, mate. You know, because you look at Chelsea and some of the players they have, and so you think, they are just strolling to an inevitable victory here. But when you see young George scoring, you kind of go, yeah, you forget though. There's some young lads in there.
Well, I guess the key part of the Conference League last night is seeing Betis and Fiorentina win and thinking, okay, we could have a worthy final.
Yeah.
At least, because they're in the other half of the draw.
fact that Chelsea can only get one of them as well. Even within
do you think it should be a Betis and Fiorentina select 11?
Well, no, I just think that even the draw was kind to Chelsea because again, that you think, so if Chelsea win this, which they will, because they won 3-0 away from them, they'll play Djurgårdens or Rapid Vienna in the semi-final.
Yeah.
Lads, it's Djurgårdens.
You know what? This will be a real test of that incredible record of Spanish teams in finals, won't it, if Betis get there? Because they've not lost in some ridiculous amount.
Fiorentina will get to the final again, and they'll be like, oh, come on.
But you say that.
They just can't win this competition.
I mean, Fiorentina have a better side. As I've said before, Fiorentina have a better side than either of the two sides that reach the final. And Betis...
They're playing Chelsea, though.
And Chelsea of the last couple of months... I mean, I think that's the amazing thing, I think you look at this Fiorentina side, you look at the fact that Betis are well in the mix for Champions League place, playing really, really well. Isco is absolutely on fire at the moment. They're a good team.
David De Gea, Andy.
So, yeah, there's that as well. That's another element. The fact is there should be a worthy final, which I think when you start the season, you pretty much know Chelsea are going to get to the final. That is the most you can hope for, in terms of like it being a spectacle and in terms of it being competitive. So whereas it might have been a total shoe-in for Chelsea, say,
I hope
3
it's a
months
shoe-in
ago.
for Chelsea. That'd be nice.
With Anthony getting the winner for Betis?
Well,
in the
yeah,
final?
exactly. This is it, isn't it? Can the Chelsea of the last few months handle the Anthony of the last few months?
I mean,
That'll be
that
the
would
question.
accelerate the crowdfunder, wouldn't it?
It does depend, of course, if he gets there. So Chelsea did an easy victory for them, as we thought. You mentioned earlier that Ekitike is being linked to Chelsea. Well, so is Ipswich Town's Liam Delap. Now,
They were sharing the ribbon on Sky Sports News, weren't they?
Oh my goodness, Andy! Well, that's key, isn't it? Well, of course, we now know that if Ipswich Town get relegated, which they will, the release clause falls to 30 million.
It's an absolute bargain. I want Arsenal to sign him and another striker. I'll be completely honest.
Yeah.
Because you know what? If it doesn't work out and he doesn't get enough game time, you'll probably double that. Even if you're being really cynical and really Chelsea about it.
Yeah.
Like the resale value will be amazing. But yeah, that is an absolute steal for somebody next season.
I like the idea that post Haaland, we're getting all these junior Haalands in the Premier League, like Delap and like Jurgen Strand Larsen. It's like they're all being made in a lab, isn't it?
Yeah.
Delap, I think, is a bit. You mean in terms of just like a traditional
physicality?
Yeah.
Strapping number 9.
Yes, it's not, because football tactics. Obviously, some football tactics, are left in the past, but often it is a kind of recycling or a modernising of ideas and things go out of fashion.
It's about the players that are being produced, isn't it?
It is, but for some types of players go out of fashion and sometimes they come back into fashion and so on. And it was always going to be about a time where traditional strikers at the top level have always been there, of course, but at the top level would be, they're a premium at the moment, you would say.
Absolutely. Apart from this guy.
Well, yeah, sadly for Ipswich. His former side, Manchester City, play Crystal Palace tomorrow at 12:30. Palace in great form, one has to say.
Unbelievable.
They're 22 points from the last 10 games. He's only bettered by Liverpool, and no team has conceded fewer than them, which is just 7 goals in that time.
They are going to be without Mark Gay, though, which is massive going to the Etihad.
It is, yes, absolutely. But Palace in 11th, they've got a game in hand on all of the teams other than Newcastle United above them. Again, just a win, and suddenly it seems like a bit of a stretch at the moment. But if 8th place is Europa Conference League in the Premier League, which it could be, I think if you're Palace, you've got your sights on that, although really the sights would be, you would think, FA Cup, because they could get into the Europa League. But
why not both?
Why not? Well, they can only play one European competition, Jim, but yes, I take the point that you were saying. I was being a bit naughty, obviously. So I think that there is something in this game, and Manchester City themselves, of course, are down in 6th. And
Palace have often made it difficult for City as well.
They have, yeah.
They make it difficult for lots of teams. They're a pain in the arse, and I mean that as a real compliment.
You think that Townsend volley, Andy? Is that where you go with that?
That's absolutely where I'm going with that.
One of the volleys of our time.
Oh, totally. Of any time.
Of any time.
But I think when you look at Palace finishing a season strongly, that's what they did so effectively last season, and that's what kind of made us a bit deflated by them at the start of the season when they had a difficult start and struggled to get out from under it. But I think you often see when you have a sort of, and I say this with greatest respect of them, a perennially mid-table-ish side who make a deep run in the FA Cup, normally, because they're comfy, because they're not qualifying for Europe and they're not going down, the league form falls off a cliff. But that's not it with Palace at the moment. They're just really enjoying themselves, aren't they?
Well, they are, yeah. And again, when you say mid-table, I understand sort of why you say that, but
I said perennially mid-table, and they are perennially mid-table.
But for a side like Palace, that's still an achievement.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you think of the size of the club, the other clubs around them, the way where players can go. It's hard to hold on to players.
But I think on the other hand, you've really got to cherish this moment. I think if you're a Palace fan, and Palace fans won't need telling that, but it is a sort of existential problem, isn't it, in the modern Premier League? That sense of we're never going down, and we're never qualifying for Europe, so what are we doing? And that's how you get to that point where you're like, oh yeah, the football's a bit shit, isn't it? Do we need something else from this? What do we need to really enjoy our football that we go to on a weekly basis? And I think Palace in the back end of last season and now are giving meaning to those supporters. And when they were talking about a brilliant job that he did, when they were talking about moving on from Roy Hodgson, this was what they were aiming at, isn't it? Excitement, possibility, entertainment.
Yeah. The unknown, right?
Exactly.
You did not have that under Hodgson. You knew exactly what you were going to get.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Well, Oliver Glasner, of course, is what they needed, and they got him. But there is little reports that he's began talks with Tottenham Hotspur.
David Ornstein did say yesterday he'd not heard anything about that.
Yeah,
we do trust Orney.
We do. So I would go with that. And
of course, Leipzig are interested in him as well. Look, I think whatever happens this season, Palace have got a battle to hang on to him.
Yeah,
because he was offered good jobs before Palace, and he wanted to come to the Premier League. To me, that means that Tottenham are probably more of a threat to Palace's hopes of keeping him than Leipzig, because
whatever keeps Marco Silva at Fulham, Andy. Yeah, I know what you mean. I think, though, that you win the FA Cup. Now, one could say, well, it's never going to get any better than that. You've delivered them first ever trophy, major trophy.
Yeah.
So off you go. Or you might say, you've got us into Europe. Now, come on. Let's kick on and see what we can do next season. It will be interesting.
Yeah, coaches don't really think like that, though, do they?
Well, maybe they should, Andy. And that's what I'm here for. Look at the bigger picture, for crying out loud. Now, Manchester City, yes, they themselves are currently outside of the Champions League positions. And they need to pull their socks up, of course. And despite what one may say, I honestly think it would be a disaster for them if they don't qualify for the Champions League.
Marcus, I'm getting absolutely obsessed with the idea of them in the Conference League.
Yeah, it would.
I'm just enjoying it.
We've kind of had a preview of what it would be like, though, wouldn't we, with Chelsea?
Yeah, I mean, the first Championship or League One side in the Conference League? There's a lot.
Has anyone ever done a double of that in the Virtu Motors Trophy?
Yeah, that Johnson's Paint Trophy winners and Europa Conference League winners, Manchester City.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, because I know you want to talk about some of the players they might sign as they accelerate that rebuild in the summer.
I want to talk about what Richard Keys said.
But
go on, carry on.
But you know what? I watched a compilation of Wimbledon's 1989-1990 season review.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. On YouTube the other day. Richard
I thought
Keys,
you were going to say at a football match.
Yeah.
In the previous round,
I couldn't get the connection. But it's funny. Richard Keys was commentating on loads of them.
Was he?
They felt wrong. It felt wrong.
Oh, dear. Well, Richard Keys has had his say on Manchester City's problems this season. And Keysy said, Guardiola fell asleep at the wheel celebrating that fourth successive title. If I was in charge at City, I'd invite him to announce his resignation.
Yeah, that's definitely what happened, Richard.
Yeah, well, do you know what, Andy?
What
do you know what's really annoying with this? Is that Keys and I are in agreement with this, okay? But
even a stopped clock occasionally finds a nut.
Indeed, Jim. You know when somebody may something that you can't say something in the public sphere, you kind of go, I do agree with that, but I just wouldn't have worded it like that.
Yes,
I wouldn't have shouted at that person. I wouldn't have used that language.
No need to say needless to say I had the last laugh.
I wouldn't have publicly said I agree with Piers Morgan.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean, though. It's just like, oh dear. Well, there we are. Always good to hear from him, of course, in a way. But Pep admitted before the Manchester derby that he would have been definitely sacked if he'd have been with another club. But you're not, so you're going to be okay, pal.
I think if he'd been at another club and had the same legacy he has at City, he would also have been fine. But it's just a unique set of circumstances.
Leicester sacked Claudio Ranieri.
That's true. That's very true.
Leicester, we forget. Now, this is big news. Julia Roberts will be part of the World 11 in this year's Soccer Aid. It's not been announced if she's playing or not. I don't think she will, personally. That would be my prediction. But then I got it wrong with Mo Salah. We're going to talk about that in the next year. But it's intriguing that she's been invited in.
I hope she does play.
Yeah.
We were talking off air about how Bad Bunny was a wrestler for a bit. Had some WWE matches, and I like that because it suggests that anyone, anywhere, from any field of entertainment might just pop up as a wrestler. Maybe it's happening in Soccer Aid as well.
Whoever Bad Bunny is, was Bad Bunny 57 when he entered the WWE ring?
No, I think that's the thing. They were talking to Mike Myers the other day about his playing in Soccer Aid, and he was on American telly, and he was re-watching some of the footage of it, and he was he's like, I'm in much better physical shape now, and they'll go, well, why don't you have a go? And he's like, because I'm dead old.
Yeah.
Well, this is what the Baller League wants to be, isn't it?
It is. It absolutely
you can get your ex-pros in, and you can get Flunky D or whoever off YouTube. But
Meg Ryan on the wing.
Yeah. But it's not Woodrow Harrelson scoring a penalty, is it?
It is not. And it never will be, of course. So, yes. But this is, of course, Pep Guardiola once said about Julia Roberts. She is one of his 3 idols. You know when he just talks shit? Mm-hmm. I think that's an example. But anyway, he was left feeling...
when he's not talking about football, he's a maniac. Even more so. He's the sort of person you just you'd shuffle up to you in a pub and you'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake.
When he starts speaking, does your heart sink?
Indeed, Andy.
Very much so.
Well, he said he was left feeling like a failure after Julia Roberts didn't come to watch Manchester City when she visited England in 2016. Because, 2016, they weren't really firing on all cylinders, were they, back then? So maybe...
No.
This is why no one can get near him, because his motivations are just impenetrable.
Yeah, well, even if I win the Champions League, which of course Pep Guardiola did with Manchester City, it cannot make up for Julia Roberts not coming to see us.
Do you think he thought about that
Maybe.
while lifting the trophy?
Yeah.
This is all right.
Those tears were actual tears. They weren't tears of joy. Julia! Leonardo Bonucci and Nemanja Matić will make their Soccer Aid debuts, though.
I don't want to hear about proper footballers playing in Soccer Aid.
No, you got to have a smattering. I think a smattering makes it.
He's right, Andy. A smattering. You need a smattering.
Look, if Speller's not getting called up, I'm just not going to watch it.
Yeah.
Until he plays, I'm never watching it.
Yeah.
There's your ultimatum, Soccer Aid people.
And I have played at Old Trafford, Andy. I know the club. I know the stadium. It makes sense. It does make sense. Wouldn't you love to see me kissing the Three Lions badge on TV, Andy?
Well, you say that. I think Old Trafford has gone to shit since you played there.
Ooh, I did play.
Look at it. Look at the state of it.
It was the season José Mourinho was there.
Right, okay.
So
since you and Jose left.
Since we both stayed in the Lowry and then we left.
When are you joining him at Fenerbahce?
Oh.
You're probably a bit young for him, aren't you? A bit young for the Turkish Super League, aren't you?
Yes, I am indeed, yeah. That'll happen, I'm sure, when I learn the language. Right, coming up after this, that news that Mohamed Salah is staying at Liverpool. Liverpool host West Ham on Sunday at 2 p.m. and there will be a lovely little atmosphere in the stadium, you would think, Jim Campbell, because Mo Salah has signed a new 2-year contract with the club. He said, I signed because I think we have a chance to win other trophies and enjoy my football.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying recently that you feel like, he kind of down tools a little bit and looked a little bit less interested than he normally does. Sometimes that happens once a player has signed a contract, doesn't it? So maybe he signed this in a dark room somewhere recently, and he's just taking it easy a little bit because he's just got a bit more peace of mind now. But yeah,
I love a conspiracy theory. Pile
exactly.
it on.
Yeah, well, I felt that he was
I'll add you to my Arsenal WhatsApp group.
I honestly thought he was going to go at the end of the season.
Yeah, I did too.
Because of his age and the fact. Well, I just thought he's done everything. Winning the Premier League in such fashion, he's been the best player in the league this season. He'll probably get Golden Boot, you would think, as well. So what a season to bow out with, and I thought, surely that's it. And as well, the last sort of handful of games, really since that PSG game, a number of the Liverpool players haven't been playing in the same manner because
they're baked.
It's a huge emotional hit, that as well.
It was the emotional hit. I mean, yes, Andy, you're right to say that, and I think also the fact is that the league is pretty much wrapped up as well. So for all these reasons, I thought surely he's going to go. But I think with Salah, it's good that he's staying. I think because there's nothing worse when a player goes that little bit too early and you're sort of trudging around the Saudi Pro League or wherever, and you're thinking, I could give another year or two at least.
Which he's clearly got in him because let's not mince words. He's been in the best form of his life, and he's one of the best players the Premier League has ever seen.
Yeah, and
this season Salah has been absolutely phenomenal. And I think if you are absolutely flying in that team, you're obviously the main man in that team. It's an incredible team to watch. We've all seen that. Yeah. They were essentially just very unlucky that they got PSG when they did in the Champions League. I think most other opponents they would have got past.
It was only penalty shootout. Do you know what I mean? It went all the way.
Yeah.
People forget that.
He's probably looking at this thinking, you know what, maybe we can go one better next season. Maybe we can go further. Maybe he's got his eye on a Ballon d'Or as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I have to say, I'm quite surprised at some of the reaction out there where people are saying, have Liverpool done the right thing? I mean, they've definitely done the right thing.
It's 2 years. If they gave him more than that, there might be questions. But
yeah, and look, if the second year of it looks bad, fine. Yeah, I think if that ends up being his gold watch, fine. But I think you have to look at the context, and the context is that if anyone's ever had what they would call in American sports a contract year, that is exactly what Salah has had here, and he's been able to put such an amount of pressure on the club, particularly with his form in the first 2/3 of the season. Like you said, he's tailed off a little bit recently, but I think that's due to the quite ludicrous fact that he started all 31 Premier League games. Yeah. The only other two players who've done that, Virgil van Dijk and Ryan Gravenberch, who's 10 years younger than both of them. Yeah. So it's a bit mad, really, that situation. But I do just feel that it's something that has been completely shaped by this season. Because when you said that you felt that Salah would go at the end of this season, Marcus, I would have agreed if we'd have gone back to August. But just the pressure has become so much. And we've got to bear in mind as well that Liverpool have been really looking at getting out from under this contract for probably a year. And the form this year has just been so irresistible. It's changed their minds, and it's had to change their minds. But you've always got to look, especially in a Premier League context, about how much it will cost to replace that player. So the fact is, if he ends up being great next year and then falls off in the second year of the contract, or just good next year actually, and falls off in the second year of the contract, it's still a reasonable spend, because you have to think, if they went out to replace Mo Salah, how much is it going to? It's going to cost them a fortune for someone who's got no guarantee of being anywhere near as good. So getting his ink on the page is an absolute no-brainer.
Also gives them a bit of time to find a replacement. And because you don't necessarily have to sign the replacement when Salah leaves. They could sign someone who they think, we're going to...
A year of handover is ideal, really, isn't it?
Indeed, and also as well, that, if Trent Alexander-Arnold goes to Real Madrid, which everyone suggests is because Salah signed. Reports this morning saying that Virgil van Dijk has also signed a new 2-year deal. No word on Trent. We don't expect there to be. All the smart money suggests he's going to go to Real Madrid. Conor Bradley will come in. And Conor Bradley is one of those fullbacks who almost plays like two players, up and down and so on. And Salah will benefit from that. It'll be different to what Alexander-Arnold brings, but I think again that a lot of his running, he won't be asked to track back as this season. Slot will manage Salah as he's getting older, as he has done brilliantly this season. So,
it essentially stops Arne Slot having to do an immediate rebuild, while at the same time having his first transfer window where he actually signs a significant number of players. It would be a kind of a mini crisis, really.
They want to do it gradually, don't they? They want to gradually rebuild, and I think Liverpool will be quite active in the market this summer. But if all three of those big players were to go, all of a sudden you're struggling to hold it down.
You're patching holes, aren't you? Rather than kind of augmenting your squad.
Indeed, their opponents, West Ham, have only won 2 of their last 10 league games. This is surely going to be a Liverpool victory.
Feels like
West Ham need to do something in the summer, though, don't they?
Yeah, I think they've got quite a lot to do, really. I think they've got Jean-Claire Todibo has been sort of quite an inconsistent signing for them, Andy. I'm sure you're familiar with him from France. I think they have an obligation to buy him, and I think they expected a lot more.
If they can get their money back for him, they should.
Really?
Yeah.
You think? I suppose there's a possibility they sign him and then sell him on immediately.
Totally. They discussed that possibility with Juventus in the January window, and they couldn't get to that point, so Juventus ended up signing Lloyd Kelly. All the better for Newcastle, I suppose. But look, I think that to me, it feels with Todibo they should probably cut their losses and get their money back. But the problem is it's almost like a Manchester United situation. There are a lot of players at West Ham where you think, they could be getting a lot more out of them.
Yeah,
it's not a bad squad by any stretch of the imagination, but it does need some intelligent pruning.
I think it needs upgrades in key areas. Todibo's been underwhelming. I think Mavropanos is a player who's fairly error prone as well. I think they need an upgrade at centre back in general.
But the problem is that to create the cash to do that, they've got to sell Aguiar, for example, who's on absolutely massive wages and out on loan at the moment. So
I think it's all prime for Kurt Zuma to come back from his loan spell in Saudi Arabia.
It certainly is. No, it really is.
Andy, I'm not joking. He's had a season off, in a way, and he'll be back.
Yeah.
Right, it's time for this.
Dean Smith also says you're an encyclopedia of football.
A what?
An encyclopedia of football.
I don't know what that means.
Nor do I, Jack, nor do I, which is why I'm presenting rather than competing. Yes, Jack's Encyclopedia. Last week ended in a historic draw. Can we say historic draw?
We can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty historic. Anyway, it's a simple game of categories. If you go too slow, I'll play Gary Neville's Goalgasm, which will leave you 7 seconds. So our first category is the 20 managers with the lowest points per game record in the Premier League. And they must have managed at least 25 Premier League games.
Oh, must have managed at least 25.
25. So the 20 managers, to clarify, with the lowest points per game record in the Premier League. Jim Campbell is to my left, and he will lead us out the gate. Jimbo.
I'm going to go for Paul Jewell.
Damn!
You're telling me he's not in there?
I don't believe it!
God!
I do not believe it.
After all that, come on, Marcus.
Paul Jewell's not in there.
No, he's not.
It's Torres.
I'm going to go for a rogue shout here. Is Graham Potter in there?
No, you are both back in. This is such a rogues gallery. I'll be disappointed if you don't get a couple of these.
Okay.
I'm so glad you said... I mean, I've got one wrong there.
Yeah, the problem with this round is that it's the 25 games thing, isn't it? There's a lot of people who think, he was an absolute disaster, but they won't have been there for very long. Okay. Oh, my God.
Have a think.
Scott Parker.
Oh, good call.
Very good.
Yeah, very good call.
It's tough, so I'm holding off on the Gary Neville button. Not forever, though.
Steve Bruce? Yeah, I wasn't confident with that.
No, it
So who
wasn't.
we got?
Look, you'll love some of these names. Ailey Boothroyd,
Oh, blimey.
Ita Karanka, Alex Neil, Brian McDermott, Chris Wilder, Daniel Farker,
See, I thought about Wilder, but then I thought, they had a good season. This is...
Yeah, that is what...
David Wagner, Egil Olsen, Ian Dowie, John Gorman from Swindon Town, of course, Kieran McKenna from this season, Mick McCarthy, Nigel Worthington, Paul Hart, Phil Brown, Rob Edwards, Tony Mowbray, Velimir Ziyech, and Vincent Kompany from last season.
Wow. Yeah, well, it's funny, though, because, one or two you think... And like Phil Brown, and I thought, is it? You had that good season. That Hull had that little. Yeah. Well, there you go. He's in there.
Yeah, and even in that season, they nearly got relegated on the final day, didn't they? Anyway, 1 point to Jim. Category 2: players who started or were on the bench for Chelsea in José Mourinho's last game in charge of the club. Marcus, second spell, of course.
I'll go for Nemanja Matić.
Nice. I'll go for Gary Cahill.
I'll go for Eden Hazard.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, but he might have been injured.
Not that nice.
Demba Ba.
Chance for Jim to win.
Back in spells.
That's annoying.
Who would have been in there? Did he sign Cesc Fabregas?
Very good.
Cesar Azpilicueta.
Oh, yeah.
Dave.
Was Ivanovic still there?
This is more like it. Come on.
Pedro.
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh, did he?
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final. The headline.
Thibaut Courtois.
Oh,
Yes.
very good.
It's Torres to give
bloody hell. You said Ivanovic, haven't you? Ryan Bertrand.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought so, but you never know, Jim.
There's another Bertrand Traore. You could have had him. Abdul Rahman Baba, Asmir Begovic, Diego Costa, John Terry.
Costa was one
John
I was...
Terry.
Yeah.
John Terry.
John-
Do you remember him?
I listed him as well, and it just went out of my head.
Someone clearly hasn't been watching Ballers League this week.
We've been burned by John Terry before. That's the problem.
That's genuinely why I stayed away
John
from
Obi Mikel, Kurt Zuma,
Kurt Zuma.
Loic Remy, Oscar Ramirez, and Willian.
Yeah, well, so Diego Costa, one I was.
Yeah, I
did
considered
have Costa.
Ramirez, but I thought he might have left by then.
Oh, there you
So,
go.
as Brian Moore would say, it's 1-1! And we're heading into the third category, the 20 clubs with the most wins in Premier League history. Jim Campbell.
Arsenal.
I love the fact that you went for them and not
Wonderful
Manchester United.
brand loyalty.
Yeah, this is the history of the Premier League. Yeah, yeah, not the last season.
Liverpool.
Manchester City. I don't know why I was hesitant. You think, oh, the 90s.
Yeah, Chelsea.
Yes, Chelsea. Suddenly it's not as straightforward as you might think, but
No,
surely
it's not.
in the top 20, Tottenham Hotspur are in there.
Yeah. And surely Aston Villa are also in there.
I can't wait for you to get to the last 6.
And surely Newcastle United are in there.
Surely Everton are in there.
Ooh. I reckon that...
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final.
West Ham are in
The
there.
headline has been
Yeah, they are, aren't they? Okay.
It's Torres to give Chelsea
Oh, bloody hell.
Champions League.
Why can't I just think of someone? Any club.
Has been written.
Fuck. Middlesbrough. It's not going to be them.
Middlesbrough! How the bloody hell are Middlesbrough in there?
They're in the Premier League for a really long time, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. Fair enough, Jim Campbell.
Unlike you to miss a 90s reference, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Like that, is it? Well, I then...
Oh, come
Torres to give Chelsea
Well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to say Blackburn Rovers.
And I'm going to say Leeds United.
Ah, you sod. Okay.
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final. The headline
Leicester
has
City?
been written.
Come on!
Yes.
They were the champions, weren't they?
They were.
So, you know. Okay,
See, that's my
then.
kind of filibustering. They were
Exactly.
the champions, weren't they?
Yes. I'm going to, based on the fact that they have spent a lot of time in the Premier League, I think this might come back to bite me. Southampton.
Well played.
Oh,
Very, very good. So, for reference, you have 5 possible answers left.
5 left. Oh, this is tough.
It is.
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions
Sod it.
League.
Fulham. Yes! Got the boys!
Oh. Yes. Okay. So again, you're now at the point where
Yep.
you're thinking of clubs who have yo-yoed a lot. So
Hence my answer
indeed,
there.
hence my answer before that.
Cough it.
Okay, so, I'm going to go for I'm going to summon the spirit of Richard Keys because it took them ages to be relegated. Coventry City.
Oh, unlucky. Unlucky.
It's a win. It's a win.
It is slim pickings now, isn't it?
It is.
Oh, my goodness. They went in the Prem for ages. They were out of it. But they were in it a few years.
It's Torres
Nottingham
to give
Forest.
Chelsea a place.
Shit in your hat and punch it. I thought this season might have...
Both back in. 4
back in.
possible answers to go. Jim.
I don't think I've said them, but Crystal Palace.
Ah, damn it all. Norwich City.
Jim!
Ah, he's done it.
Flawless victory.
It's been ages.
It has.
There you go. I think you did really well. You warmed to that fantastically well. The 3 that you didn't get, Bolton Wanderers,
I thought about Bolton.
Sunderland, the Big Sam
I
connection,
thought about them.
Sunderland.
But I thought...
Wolves were your final
I'm
one.
surprised by
yeah.
that. I guess they've been established for a while now, haven't they?
Yeah.
I thought about Bolton. Yeah.
Should have said them then.
That was a very enjoyable round,
Yeah.
and well won, Jim.
Well done. Well, you need it to try and get into the playoffs for the end of the season.
Absolutely. Have a swing at Vish.
Have a swing at that.